Russia will retaliate if NATO stores heavy weapons on its doorstep. A US government plan to place tanks and heavy weapons in NATO countries bordering Russia would be one of the most aggressive steps by the Pentagon since the Cold War, a Russian defense official has said. The US has said it would keep the weapons on Allied territory to reassure governments who are reportedly frustrated that NATO has not done more to deter Russia. So just who are these governments with an S, i.e. plural? Who are these governments that are frustrated that NATO haven't done enough to deter Russia? Come on, you mainstream journalist, spill the beans. Tell us who these governments are. I bet you the list of governments that are frustrated that NATO hasn't done enough to deter Russia include the US and the UK government. Am I right? Anyway, this article goes on. If heavy US military equipment, including tanks, artillery batteries, and other equipment really does turn up in countries in Eastern Europe and the Baltics, that will be the most aggressive step by the Pentagon and NATO since the Cold War, Russian Defense Ministry official general Yuri Yukubov said. Russia will have no option but to build up its forces and resources on the Western Strategic Front, Interfact's news agency quoted him as saying. Isn't that great news? Doesn't this latest tit for tat sound like so much fun? We put nuclear weapons here, and then you can put nuclear weapons there. This is beyond the Cold War. Remember what a senior NATO official said only a couple of weeks ago? No? You've forgotten already? Well, have a look at this. Last week, former NSA intelligence analyst John Schneidler posted a rather disturbing tweet with a statement that one could only assume to be a reference towards Russia. Schneidler wrote, said a senior NATO, non-US, GOFO, whatever that means, to me today, we'll probably be at war this summer. If we're lucky, it won't be nuclear. Let that sink in. Indeed, let that sink in. A senior NATO official thinks that we will be at war by the summer, and if we're lucky, it won't be nuclear. Being a senior NATO official, he's likely to know a thing or two. Do you know what this means for you and your family? Let me tell you. It means death. No two ways about it. It might start in Eastern Europe, but it could soon spread across the world, and the killing would be immense. Millions, if not billions, will die, and this planet could potentially be wiped out, could be destroyed. The leadership of America and NATO have officially gone insane. They are completely mad. If they continue to deliberately provoke Russia, there is the real possibility of a nuclear war between Russia and America and NATO. This is not scaremongering. This is the reality we face. It's just that the media keeps us preoccupied with Britain's Got Talent and X-Bloody Factor. The Russians aren't a bunch of goat herders. The Russians are a serious army with China on their side. Do we really want our leaders to start a fight with them? A nuclear fight with them? And all this for what? So the international banksters can make a few more billions? Do they not realise that even if they survived the nuclear war, they simply wouldn't survive the people? We know who's responsible for these actions. We know who's led us here. They will pay. The EU and America overthrew a democratically elected government in Ukraine and installed neo-Nazis. That's how kind and loving the EU and America are. And now America is about to hit a very big bear with a very shitty stick, repeatedly. The American leadership and the NATO leadership has to be stopped from doing this. I'll say it again. They are completely insane. Completely and utterly insane. Where are the real leaders of our planet? Why aren't they standing up and telling NATO and Obama to just stop their insane actions and sit down and talk to people? The only way this is going to be resolved is if we sit down and talk to them. The original article goes on. Polish Defense Minister Tomasz Siemoniak said he expected a final US decision on the equipment within a few weeks. They're probably waiting to see if they can get TTP passed. If they can't, I'm sure they're gonna use the war in Russia as an excuse. Same in Europe. If they can't pass TTIP, then they'll use the war in Russia to distract us while it sails through without anybody knowing, because they're all too worried about nuclear war with Russia. Anyway, the article goes on. They know how important it is to us because we want to build a permanent US presence, the Allied army here on Polish territory, Siemniak told reporters. It seems to me that such enterprises, that is equipment, warehouses, are a very crucial step when it comes to building such a presence. He should have said that storing this military hardware in our country is a surefire way to have a nuclear standoff with Russia, who are ploughing billions into their nuclear weapon manufacturing. This is just insanity. Pure insanity. This could lead to the destruction of all life as we know it, and all because Obama wants to prove that he's got a bigger winky than Putin. Unbelievable. Our leaders need to grow up. Millions of years of evolution and we've come to this. My cock's bigger than your cock. They're acting like spoiled brats in a playground. They'd be better off leaving the planet to be run by 10-year-olds. They'll have more sense than these fuckers. Remember how after the First World War they said it could never happen again? But it did. Remember after the Second World War how they said it could never happen again? But it did. It's attitudes like that of America and NATO that will cause the next and possibly last ever war on this earth. Why don't we get round a table and talk to them? There are enough nuclear weapons on this planet to kill it 100 times over. And we are heading down that road. We need sensible leaders to stop these insane people. We should round up the insane people, lock them up, throw away the key. We know who they are. Obama, John McCain, Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, to name but a few. These insane men want a war with Russia. They actually believe they can survive a nuclear conflict with the Russians. They are certifiably clinically insane. I simply wouldn't put it past them to do this. Like I've said, our leaders are insane by any stretch of the imagination. We have to stop this insanity.